Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to today's Studio 25 video. In this episode, we're going to be presenting presentations. That's right. We decided that everybody needs to know a little bit more about everything, from very important stuff to less important stuff. So we're just going to get right into it. I'll be going first today with my own presentation. So I decided to go for something that I think a lot of people kind of understand, but maybe don't know all of the specifics about it. So I thought I'd just really delve into the case of why carpets are just better than humans. So now, this is a pretty controversial topic. It's been talked about a lot over the years, but I thought I'd just lay out a pros and cons list for you, okay? So first we're going to go pros and cons of humans, all right? So some of the cons, they're destroying the world, okay? Climate change, global warming, the threat of nuclear annihilation, all of it just weighs down on humans and society as a whole. It's just not good. They're not comfortable to walk on, okay? Like, I don't know if you've ever tried walking on a human, maybe intentionally, maybe not, but either way, you probably know not the most pleasant experience. They talk about you behind your back. Now, this one's a little hard to grapple with. You might not know this one for sure, but that's because they're so good at it. And lastly, they take forever to make. 9 months, absurd. But yeah, of course, we do have some pros over here, like they invented carpets. So I'll give them that. Next, we have the pros and cons of carpets. So let's look at some of these pros. They're not destroying the world. I mean, seriously, have you ever seen a carpet do anything remotely bad? I haven't. They're comfortable to walk on. Now, like, I'm sitting on a carpet right now. Feels great. They never say anything mean to anyone, ever. And they're easy to make. It only takes like a couple weeks. It's much better than humans, I'll tell you that. Cons, of course, they were invented by humans, but what are you gonna do? Next one, I know this, we're kind of like establishing like, okay, I mean, yeah, carpets are better than humans, but does that mean carpets are good? So for this thing, I'm going to be comparing both carpets and humans to something that everyone's already established as being good. So let's get right into that. Humans versus cats. So humans and cats, what do they have in common? This is to judge how similar both humans and carpets are to cats, to judge like which is better, because if something's more similar to a cat, it's going to be better. So both are alive. Yeah, sure, that's pretty good. They're both mammals, okay? And they both have to eat. So that's the only thing they have in common. It's just three. Carpets and cats, however, they're both soft. Neither do anything. You can pet them whenever you want. And neither of them talk about you behind your back. That's four things in common. Therefore, carpets are more like cats. Therefore, carpets are better. Lastly, we're just going to look at some of the statistics. I know some of this stuff might sound a little flowery, a little fancy. This is the hard evidence here. This is irrefutable, all right? When asked if they had a negative experience with a human or a carpet, 100% of individuals asked said they had had a bad experience with a human, but not with a carpet. When asked whether carpets or humans were better, 100% of subjects claimed that carpets were better. And when asked whether they would prefer to be a carpet or a human, 100% of people affirmed that they would rather be a carpet. Well, there you have it. I mean, strikes pretty true. 100%. That's not an easy statistic to get. And in conclusion, carpets are just better than humans. Any questions?
I have a question. Well, actually, it's more of a statement.
Okay.
So what about rug burn? Carpets give rug burn.
That's rugs. You're thinking of rugs.
What about carpets tripping people?
No, you're thinking about rugs.
You're thinking about rugs. No, I think that really more falls on the human's fault. Like,
what about when carpets hide the Legos so then you step on them?
No, you're still thinking about
Is that the carpet's fault?
Carpets go wall to wall. Rugs are little things that things can slip under and nasty stuff like that.
You raise a good point, Mitchell, but honestly, I think what you're overlooking here is that this is all stuff the human is doing to themselves. I mean, you can blame the carpet all you want, but at the end of the day, if the human wasn't there, the bad thing wouldn't have happened.
So, I mean, should we even be counting the fact that carpets can't do anything to the world because they can't do anything at all without the help from humans?
No, of course not. That's
I mean, is
absurd.
that a bad thing?
Yes, Mr. Means.
What about that hybrid species known as a carpetbagger?
Oh, that is a good question. You know, I'm gonna say they're probably in between, like probably the better side of humans, but probably the worst side of carpets. And that middle ground, treading the line, I'd say.
I have one more question. So in for humans, we have a society, and in societies they tend to have higher powers and whatnot. What is the best carpet? What is the monarch of?
Yeah, 80s shag carpeting is probably the top of the line. Yeah.
Now I know what kind of carpet to get. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, then I'm gonna hand it off to our next presenter, and who would that be?
I will present next.
All right.
So this is my wikiHow critique. So the wikiHow that I chose was how to hide from a murderer. Now this wikiHow is very, very whack. We all know that. There were memes about it everywhere. So the part one of this is hiding effectively. The first photo shows a table barricading a door. I see two problems immediately with this photo. The hinges are on the other side of the door, which means that the door opens outwards. And the handle is a flat handle. So sure, the table might block it if you're trying to twist it down, but some of those handles are kind of whack, and if you twist it up, it still opens the door. So, so that means that this table isn't very effective at barricading your hiding place. So the murderer can just get right in and proceed to kill you. The third photo we have here is obscuring your location. As you can see, she is safely hiding under her desk, which I will admit doesn't seem very safe. You have this giant opening from which the murderer can proceed to come at you from. And desks aren't very great because that's one of the many hiding places I bet you all used when you were 3 or 4 when you were playing hide and go seek with your parents. All right, the sixth photo, hide in plain sight if necessary. Now this is literally a photo of them playing dead before the murderer kills them. Yes, this is the prestigious plan that everybody must go to. Before the murderer kills you, you must pretend that you are already dead. The seventh photo in just this first section, call for help. Now, as you can see, there's the figure back here. What is he holding? Is that a flashlight? Is that just a ball he found in the in the hider's house? Like what is he doing? And second of all, she's calling 911, which would probably make some noise, notifying him to her location. And he's already right there, which I don't really see this as a very good plan. He will definitely hear you calling 911. Now, part 2, planning ahead for your eventual murder. As you can see here, you have the door with a security camera and a lock. That's perfect. You're secure. But this window I have a problem with. First of all, what is this? What is this? Is this just like steel with like another layer of glass or like plastic or something? What is that? And then we have 2 windows here. These aren't the nice sliding windows that go side to side. They either have to open up out or open in. So it's kind of like, okay, they can probably just smash it in depending on which way the bolts are facing. All right, part 3, using other survival techniques. All right, as you can see, this man is simply running away from the murderer. How he got outside, I don't know. But I do have 2 questions. 1, why does the garage door go through the wooden post? Why, what is going on here? The garage door is simply just phasing through this wooden support beam. And second, he has no neighbors. There's no sky. He's just living in the void. There's nothing outside of his house. I don't know where he's running to. Then the second photo, use an improvised weapon. The first thing I saw when I saw this photo was the bonk meme. And I don't think a baseball bat is a very improvised weapon. Sure, it was created for the sport, but it's just a weapon. It's a baseball bat. And another thing I have to point out here is the height difference. Look at how tall this guy is and how short this guy is. Either this guy is already halfway onto the floor or this man's like 7 feet tall. And then our last photo, this one's this one's a little weird. Cooperate if you are captured. Now, this lady, she's not tied at the bottom of the chair, so she can stand up if she wants. And if she just has her hands tied back here, then can't she just stand up and use the chair as a weapon? Like, this murderer did a very bad job of making you stay captured. My final statements for this very overcomplicated critique for wikiHow. So, I think wikiHow did a pretty bad job, like normal. There were definitely some art flaws in their photos, and the descriptions didn't make any more sense.
Let's move on to the next presentation then. Thank you, Mitchell. Very good. All right. Does anybody want to go next, or I will just pick someone?
I'm down.
All right, James, you're up.
All right, we're getting into the very important presentations. All right, the competitive differences between Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. All right. First, the age of the games. So, Melee was released in 2001 for the GameCube, so it's almost 20 years old, and Ultimate was released in 2018 for the Switch, so it's roughly 3 years old almost. And so this means that, of course, the models and graphics for Melee are going to be a lot worse, and you can see in the stages right here. So we have Battlefield for Melee and Battlefield for Ultimate. You can see that there's quite a big difference. Next, we have the characters and the roster. So viability has always been like a big topic in the Melee community, and so some people have said like, oh, only 3 characters are viable, and some have like, oh, like there's been like 15 characters are viable. I think that there's roughly like 7 characters that are viable, which would be Peach, Captain Falcon, Falco, Fox, Sheik, which is like one half of Zelda, because they can there's a move that they can use to switch characters. Marth and Jigglypuff. So those would be like the 7 most viable characters in this game, out of Melee's 25 characters. Now Ultimate is a lot more balanced, and there are also 80 characters. So there's going to be a lot more viable characters, and I can't really list all of them because there's just too many, but I'd say it's roughly about like a third to half maybe. Next is the bugs. So if you've ever played a game, you know that bugs are bad most of the time. The bugs in Melee are actually what makes it competitive. You get certain movement options that you shouldn't be allowed to normally do. And that's the reason why it's still alive after 20 years of, of existing. And that's not to say that we can't find those same movement bugs in Ultimate as well. It's just that Melee is about 10 times as old as Ultimate, so it's had a lot more time to develop those options and develop this meta. All right, next we have the casual side. So as you can see down on these pictures, we have the Melee stuff over here, and we have the Ultimate stuff over here, and we can see that, of course, Ultimate has much more items and stages, but Ultimate also has much more like special modes that you can do. Like you could do like Squad Strike, where you have like 3 different people versus 3 different people. Or you could do like Showdown, where it's like you could do like 30 battles in a row, and like each character gets eliminated after its use. And you could do a bunch of stuff like that, but you can't really do that in Melee. So Melee is not a competitive, or Melee is not a casual game, like in the slightest, really. All right. All right, that's the end. Thank you for coming to this very rushed and very scuffed presentation. Any questions?
Which game is better?
That is entirely up to opinion. I think I enjoy watching Melee more, but I think Ultimate is a better game.
All right. Good job, James. I'm sure 3 of us understood that presentation.
Hey, listen, man, is last second. I told you, very, very scuffed and very rushed.
All right. Does anybody want to go next?
I could go.
Okay.
Okay, so my presentation is about how Cedric from Sophia the First is the human embodiment of perfection. Okay, so as you can see, this is my pyramid of topics that I was going to choose for this presentation, but Cedric ended up winning because Cedric is the closest to my heart. So who is Cedric? Well, if you seriously don't know who he is, that is a punishable offense by itself. But since I'm trying to prove to you that he's perfect, I guess I'll be nice and tell you. Cedric is a character in the hit Disney show Sophia the First. He is the royal sorcerer of the kingdom of Enchantia and was formerly the master of a raven named Wormwood. What makes him perfect? Well, I'm going to be going over his personality, character development, beauty, and power/wealth in detail. So his personality. Cedric was originally an evil sorcerer who planned to take over the kingdom of Enchantia. It is seen throughout the show that his motive for this is how he was constantly bullied when he was younger, and his abilities were often not given enough validation that he believed they deserved. You know, classic, tragic backstory of the character. And by taking over the kingdom, he could prove himself to everyone who thought of him poorly. This evil persona of his fades later in the series, and he becomes a very caring person, even risking his life for the sake of others. The part of his personality that stays throughout the whole show is his nervousness. He gets anxious and nervous quite easily, especially around King Roland II, and that often affects his magical abilities in a negative way. Why does that affect his perfection? Well, it makes him more relatable. Perfection is often found in people's flaws. I wouldn't want to be friends with someone that I thought was literally not human because they had no flaws. And through character development, Cedric has shown numerous amounts of character development throughout the series, making him such a well thought out character. At the beginning of the series, Cedric is the main antagonist who constantly tries to steal Sophia's magical amulet to gain control over the kingdom. As the series continues, we find numerous changes within Cedric, his motives, his relationship with the rest of the characters, and he even helps in the development of other characters. As the former antagonist of this series and his original evil persona, you have probably concluded that he is a bad person. But you couldn't be more wrong. Through many episodes of Sophia sharing her kindness to Cedric and Cedric getting the validation he deserved for his work, he began to turn a new leaf until eventually he wasn't evil in the slightest. Although, even after he turned a new leaf, it took a lot of work to gain back the trust of everyone, especially King Roland II. He had to save Sophia numerous times and cut off his bird friend Wormwood in the process. Be like Cedric, cut out the toxic people. Cedric even helps characters like his niece, Callista, learn important lessons and stopped her from her habit of thievery. Now, do I really need to explain this? I mean, just look at him. Look at him. An absolutely gorgeous being. But if you're still not convinced, I suppose I'll have to prove it. And to prove it, I'm going to be showing you some of today's fashion trends. Now, style. First, let's take a look at his style. The muddy colors he uses and the way he layers his clothes gives me a bit of deja vu. Maybe because it resembles today's trend of grunge fairy clothing. He basically invented this aesthetic. I mean, he's the original grunge fairy. Everyone today is copying him, proving how good his sense of style is. I mean, they're not that similar, but they're basically the same. And face. I want you to look at his eye bags. You want to know what else is a trend currently? Looking tired and having eye bags for some reason. What a trendsetter, I tell you. And hair. The type of person everyone on TikTok is undoubtedly drooling about today is e-boys and e-girls. E-boys and e-girls typically have a middle part in their hair, and it's been trendy to dye the front parts of your hair that outline your face. Cedric has had this hair for a long time, and even his niece thinks he is so cool, she copied his hair. And now we're going to be moving on to power and wealth, since I just proved to you that by today's beauty standards, he is gorgeous. Okay, so finally, we're on to power and wealth. First of all, he is a royal sorcerer. His social status is already above the average Joe. And second of all, he can use magic. Can you use magic? I didn't think so. He also has already taken over the kingdom, and although his change of heart made him give it back, he proved that he's entirely capable of doing so don't mess with him. Also, he's a member of the Illuminati. Let me explain. Okay, so you see the most prominent feature on his face, right? It's his nose. You want to know what shape his nose represents? A triangle, the shape of the Illuminati. Still not convinced? Well, look at the name Cedric. It has 2 C's. You want to know what word starts with C? Cone. You want to know what a non-round cone is? A triangle. Once again, the shape of the Illuminati. But I have further proof. If you take the I and E in Cedric, you can say it as I, one of the symbols known for the Illuminati. And I has not 1, not 2, but 3 letters in it. And if you take the word Cedric, it has 6 letters in it. If you take half of that away, it's 3. You know what has 3 sides? A triangle. Once again, the shape of the Illuminati. So in conclusion, Cedric is Illuminati confirmed. And in conclusion, I believe in Cedric's supremacy, and so should you. Thank you. Any questions?
So Cedric is also E-Boy confirmed.
He is E-Boy confirmed. He is the original E-Boy. There's none like him because he was the first one.
If you had to give like a couple just like steps or pieces of advice, what would you tell someone who wanted to become more like Cedric?
To become more like Cedric, first of all, I'd say you should probably have a tragic backstory. So make sure you had a not so happy childhood. Make sure you were bullied and stuff, right? And then take anything that's good about you. I want that to completely break down anytime you're nervous or anxious. Okay, that's just completely gone anytime you're nervous or anxious. And finally, let that tragic past seep in until you can't control it anymore. And then you find someone else to bring kindness to you to help break that down for you because you don't want to do it yourself. Any other questions?
Okay, give it up for Espy.
Alrighty.
Okay, then who would like to go next?
Fine, I'll do it.
Okay.
It's so scuffed. Okay, all right. This is a presentation about Kamen Rider. What is Kamen Rider? Well, it's a show that falls into the tokusatsu genre, and it's like a Japanese term for like live action films and dramas that like make use of special effects, which are like examples of these are like Godzilla or Ultraman. It's like about a person who's like transformed into like an armored person called a Kamen Rider, which literally just means masked rider, and they fight against monsters and other people. And extra filler information that you can see on there. Next slide. Okay, so Kamen Rider is not Power Rangers. I said there's people confuse this a lot, but like I had to explain it a lot of times. They're not the same thing. I don't know how they look. I don't know how they can confuse them together. And Kamen Rider is basically about like focus on like 1 to 2 people only, while like Power Rangers is also a large team. And also, in fact, Kamen Rider is what inspired Super Sentai to be created, which was then adapted to Power Rangers, except and Kamen Rider never actually got an American adaptation. Pictures for emphasis, like for example, like they like to focus on mechs a lot, while Kamen Rider is like, hey, we want to have like one-on-one fights with each other. Look at them, they're fighting, it's cool. Yeah. Okay, where do I start? Where do you start in the frame? Okay, so like all the series in the franchise are like standalones, and they're categorized into 3 eras. Where do I start? I would recommend going with whoever looks coolest to you and whose story appeals to you the most. But you should mainly watch the more recent series as they're more new and more likely to appeal because they're higher quality. Just kidding, just watch Build. So should I watch? Well, of course you should, but you're entitled to your own opinion. I cannot stop you from not watching if you aren't interested. There are many other forms of entertainment out there that you can watch, and I don't mind you using your time for other things. Psych. This is quarantine. You most likely definitely have free time. Quit watching the boring things and watch the good stuff. Hear cool explosions in the background. check mark. Ding, that's a good part. Riverdale, boo, boo X. Poorly written high school drama, bad acting, bad plot. And then like, why? Because it's a literal goldmine of memes. There's several decades worth of content. The Japanese have been eating this gourmet stuff for years, and and like, are you just gonna let them be more technologically advanced than you? No. Google Slides didn't let me upload any videos, so this is just what I had on my PC that at the time. So just like pineapples, yes. And yeah, that's the end of the presentation. But like, wait, there's more, kind of. I make like memes about it. So when I said goldmine memes, I just like there's like a lot of weird and like funny clips. So here's this one.
$19 Fortnite.
Okay, yeah, that's the end of the presentation.
So is it like the Power Rangers?
No! No. Not really. I mean, they kind of similar.
Wait, Riverdale is like the Power Rangers. That's what
Yeah, Riverdale's more like Power Rangers. Then Kamen Rider is like
So what do they ride?
Oh, it's it's called like Rider because like the main gimmick is that they ride on motorcycles all the time.
All right. Give it up for Vincent.
I made this during lunch.
All right then, Jimmy, the floor is all yours.
It is time for my presentation on Rubber Ducks by Jimmy, Destroyer of Worlds. Don't worry about it. This is what a rubber duck looks like. Here is the anatomy of a rubber duck. As you can see, it's a duck, and there's a skeleton. Now, you may just some varieties of ducks. There are big ducks. There are ancient ducks. Heck, there are even political ducks. Now, do you have anime ducks or Pokemon? Yes, fake audience member, we do have anime ducks and Pokemon ducks. There is no end to the duckies. Now, at this point, you may want an alternative to rubber ducks, because maybe you're sick of them. There are a lot of them. However, there is no alternative. All anti-ducks will be prosecuted via quacking. Questions?
Okay. That's all of our presentations.
indestructible.
All right then. Well, that is the end of the video. Make sure to leave a like if you learned something from all these great presenters today.
Well, so
right.
wonderful.
Yeah. All
Also,
right.
I heard that there are slightly less ducks at your place if you like and comment and subscribe to this video.
Yep.
Your
See
pain
ya.
will be, your pain will be minimal.